You know what's interesting? The mouth. Like the human mouth, right? You got this tongue, and it's constantly searching around in there. There we go. That's good mouth footage. If something's in your mouth and you can't see it, or you can't feel it with your finger, trust me, your tongue's gonna know it. And if it's foreign, if it's alien, your tongue's gonna dart around there. And I'll tell you, for the past 47 hours, I've had something stuck in my mouth, and my tongue hasn't rested for 47 hours. And let me tell... Hold on. Ian.
Yes, Emio. What do you need?
I thought this mouth thing was going to work. I don't think it's working.
Yeah.
Can we do something like go to plan H or something? Like,
oh, you want plan H? Okay. Well, I know who you need. I got him. He's our music man. You need him. You need the music man.
You got the music guy?
I got the music guy. He's here. Let's.
Thought I was flying solo today.
Not tonight. Not tonight. Let's bring him out. Here he is, Trevor. Everybody.
Oh. Hey,
Trevor, you're here. I thought you weren't going to be here. I thought I offended you by calling your viola a violin. I'm so sorry.
well, yeah, I mean a little bit, but
How
But-
have you just been here this whole time?
I mean I head out sometimes, but yes, yeah, pretty much.
Just standing by for a month. All right. Okay. Well, we're off script now, so what should we do? You tell me, Trevor. What should we do at this point in time?
I guess we can just go to the next clip, right?
Alley-oop to drive for 2 and 1. He almost stuffed the rookie in the basket. Oh my goodness. He took Porzingis for a trip. Welcome to the NBA, young fella. Everybody will get dunked on if you play in this league long enough. And Dwight Howard puts Porzingis on a poster.
Welcome to the NBA. That's the moment, right? Welcome to the NBA. It's the moment that every rookie experiences, every Hall of Fame player reminisces about when they're on the podium. That moment they were welcomed to the NBA brutally, right? Right? I guess. I mean, does it even happen? It's not something that necessarily is organic, though. That's the problem. It's not a dunk. We all agree what a dunk is. We all agree what a buzzer beater is, right? But a welcome to the NBA moment is kind of a perception. And either somebody on the court is going to perceive it, or somebody in the announcer chair will paint it. And that's where it exists. And then either we agree or we don't agree. But you need people to play along. You need somebody to take it and run with it and brand it as a welcome to the NBA moment. And unfortunately, players these days, I don't feel like they're interested in the theater as much. Maybe it's because we know them too much as people, as humans off the court. But I don't know. I think the prime example of somebody who doesn't care is this guy.
No, I don't get nervous when I play basketball.
And did anything surprise you about the drills?
No, common drills get you tired, and you just gotta stay focused.
So what do you say to folks who say if Lakers draft you, your father could be a huge distraction? What do you say to that?
What'd you say?
People who say that the Lakers draft you, your father could be a huge distraction here in town because of what you call.
They said that about me in high school, said it about me in college. I don't think it affected me.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's not here for the theater. He even walked away from a team fight at one moment, and he got railed for it, but said nobody was going to do anything anyway. Just kind of busting the whole perception of passion and caring, just kind of popping the bubble of the theater there. But that's what we're faced with now. And if you want to continue to have the theater and the characters and the performance, the hold me back moments and stuff like that, you're still going to need to have somebody there to push it. It all just can't be the announcers juicing every moment and coloring every thread, trying to pull out stories that might not necessarily be there. And that's where this guy comes in.
Get all over the ball, knock it loose. It's a backcourt violation. Now right there, he's got to stop. Let's see, he's trying to get the basketball from Lillard.
Kind of answering. Here's Beverley and Cousins, not close personal friends.
He almost gets the steal right there. But that's obviously a foul. You can't wrap your arms around somebody.
Reverse won't go on a shove inside. And then it's the second and Beverley in a straight there.
We're talking about a 6'8" guy at 260 over a guy at 6'1", right? And then you're going to say,
And Tony Parker is getting jousted in the face by Patrick Beverley.
Let's see if we can keep this show going with my out of sync voice. Give us a second. Hang with us, folks. We are barreling through this. Okay. Let's get through this next segment. Actually, yeah, we're going to take a quick little technical break here. Keep them playing, Trevor. Let's roll with camera B. Thank you so much for hanging in there, folks. Thank you, Trevor. So now we've established who our man is in the league, who's going to keep up this act. Patrick Beverley's the guy that's going to continue delivering the moments that we need, that announcers need, in order to frame up the game in a way that we we know and we're familiar with. But now, he's butted up against somebody like Lonzo Ball, particularly, who doesn't care and isn't interested in playing these little games. I'm torn, personally. I mean, if you look at his performance on the court, battling and flopping and agitating, it's commendable, but it's definitely theater. Nobody's ever quantified what it's actually worth, and more often than not, the player comes back and does something embarrassing on the next couple plays. But it's almost as committed as the one person in the league that is fully committed to the performance. And here's a little shameless plug of an old video. Our man, Steve Kerr. But let's go back to his crowning achievement of rage.
I had a few coaches that do that, but never with the skill and precision by which that ball shattered into a million pieces. That's unbelievable.
you know how the guys, they stack up the blocks and they hit to do it with their head? Steve Kerr may have a future.
First of all, it was a much better, cleaner break than the first one I had this year in New York. This was a really, really good board break.
It's all they ask him about. They're so curious, and he just plays it perfectly. Like he didn't even know what was going to happen.
I didn't think it would break, but I've broken 3 of them this year. Yeah. So that was my cleanest break.
There's only one way to figure this out, and that's for me to do it. See, now I'm using the actual dry erase marker that came with this cheap-ass board. I'm guessing Steve had something a little sharper at the edge of his.
I thought you'd smash the paper with pen. Right, yeah, I can. You can tell that. Maybe that's what happened.
Steve seemed to hit it somewhere around here. I'm sure this isn't quite the same material, but probably is actually. Here we go. Go watch that video after this. I cut myself. Steve Kerr breaks it with a pen. He practices in a mirror. That's it. Period. Anyway, now to bring this full circle, let's bring this guy back in. Our antagonist or protagonist? Can't tell yet. See, when Lonzo Ball came into the league, the core beef with him was that his dad thought his son was good at basketball. Right? And people in the media liked to hear that. But they also liked to hear Lonzo Ball's dad take on everything. Things beyond how good his son is. Like, could he beat Michael Jordan? All that junk. They gave him the platform and he filled the time. The agreement was fulfilled. But now when Lonzo Ball entered the league, the fun projection was to say that the NBA players may not like him, right? And they're not going to like him. Why? Because his dad said nutty things. Nutty things like that the Lakers were dysfunctional and Luke Walton couldn't coach the team. Those nutty type of things. But anyway, when the game started, everybody standed by with bated breath and waited to see who was going to take the first hit and represent the league. All the dislike for this kid. The announcers set it up game after game, asking player after player. And of course you know who was there. Of course you know who stepped up. This happened right here. You heard Chris Webber. He said, "This is the way to enter the league." As if this is really some sort of tried and true practice. Not just something we stick on at the end to categorize a particular moment and make it sound like a fun little story. It seems unnecessary, but for Patrick to take his role seriously, it helps. It's ridiculous. People don't play along, but he knows his role. who was the winner on all this? Was it us? Was it the announcers? Is it Patrick? I don't know, right? We did get to see the payoff of a very long story, a long game that the media set up for us. And I guess this was the payoff. So let's follow Patrick here. Patrick is not only this guy, but he knows he's this guy. And he's very much like his idol, Kevin Garnett. He's almost too far deep into character to even know he's in character. When will the character take over? I mean, once it starts getting immortalized outside of basketball or in other forms of media, that's when you know it has fully set. And this is what happened in Season 4, Episode 5 of Game of Zones.
You're insolent. I've dropped 40 on men for less.
They were lesser men.
Oh, please, didn't I just drop 50 on you?
You can't win with those cats. What you need is a dog. A hungry, loyal hound.
You're proud to be a dog, eh? That's a new one.
Men love dogs.
There it is. He's a dog, right? We all know it. No reason to deny it at this point. But this relationship isn't a solo dance. It's not just Patrick by himself performing. It's almost as if certain parts of the media, they put the call out there. They say this needs to happen. This person is dancing too much. This person's dribbling too much. And Patrick Beverley hears the ring of the bell, and he shows up. But now we go to the bubble. And which parts of people's personalities were going to get squeezed out, thinned out, and wave high at the top of that? In some situations, we had players who cracked. Some players were stressed out. For Patrick Beverley's character, I believe what was squeezed out of the top of all that pressure was a little bit more of Patrick Beverley, the character. And unfortunately, in this bubble, he wasn't the only one playing their role, because a lot of these guys were also in the bubble. Yeah, you probably know where we're going here. I mean, like many forms of entertainment, every once in a while the NBA sticks its head out of the window into something that's real, something beyond entertainment, something beyond frivolous, right? And when the players decided that the moment was so big that they actually had to address it, they decided to have some meetings. And things started leaking out. Players' opinions, people's takes, who said what. It's like they were searching for their old storylines, their old play-by-play. And I don't know if they had the ability to take a step back and look at the greater point in what they were doing there in the bubble. And it's not an indictment of all media. It's just a few people that their voices, they ring out and they cut through. And unfortunately, they continued to look for their same stories. And they absolutely feasted on what could be seen as a completely typical interaction inside of a very tense meeting. They found their stalwart, their reliable rabble-rouser. They found out he had a moment, a little Patrick Beverley moment in the meeting. And that was going to be the story. Patrick Beverley being Patrick Beverley. Okay, we did it. First segment. Whew, that was actually tough. Okay, changed the camera. Everything was kind of crazy. Still feel like I got through it. Hopefully people are following along. Trevor, what'd you think?
Oh, it's great. Great for me.
Good
to be back.
Good. Thank you. I'm glad to have you back. Okay, we're doing something different. We actually have a guest, folks. It's amazing, and I hope he's still hanging on there and didn't bail on us. during our technical difficulties. The problem is, I don't know. I never thought about what kind of music to do for a guest segment, and I'm hoping you kind of have something in mind. We didn't really get to rehearse much of it. Let's just run it here. Do you have any ideas for what to kind of play under the interview here? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we could try a little bit.
Okay, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, Trevor. I just don't. I'm not trying to like, I don't know, seduce our guest. I guess maybe a little less seductive.
See,
I don't know.
I got something like that. Like a walk down the street, like you're gonna chat with a buddy here, right?
Yeah. Here we go. Walking down over the bridge in the bubble, away from the press towards the meeting. There we go. All right, I like that. Let's do with that. You know what? With that, pray he's still here. Let's bring on our very first guest, Mike Pesca, my imaginary friend. Big fan of the show in my imagination. Host of The Gist, I listen every day podcast, and author of the book Upon Further Review. I'm not even reading that. I actually memorized that. And I plan on reading it, at least with the audiobook. Do you read your own audiobook?
There are 22 contributors, and I read about 6, but you know, Jesse Eisenberg reads his own chapter, and I think we got Bob Bryan to read his chapter, and Jeremy Schaap reads his chapter. So the good readers pitched in.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. I wasn't even just talking that I was going to get it on audiobook, but now I actually am.
Yeah.
Completely. Maybe we'll give one away as like a giveaway. We've never done giveaways. No, I don't know.
We never had guests. What? Trevor, what's giveaway music? What would giveaway music be?
He's got that. Give him 3 seconds. So, okay, let me ask you this. You've been watching the coverage, because we're talking a little higher level here, not just the games and what's happening, but the coverage of we're doing some coverage of the coverage. What's your takeaway with how all the meetings have been covered and what's getting out?
Yeah, I think that when sports reporters, even the best sports reporters, are asked to cover essentially a nonfiction, real-world political action, it's not that they're not as good at it. It would work the other way around, right? If we asked David Broder or whoever you think the world's Wesley Lowery, the world's best political reporters, hey, go cover an NBA game. They might have some great insights, but they might not get some of the basics. So I think that there are always in these meetings, if you cover it second by second or minute by minute, you might find some interesting but not telling and not necessarily indicative anecdotes of how the actual meetings went. So like you say, we hear Patrick Beverley got emotional or got upset with Michelle Roberts. You know, I think in union talks, especially closed union talks, something like that happens all the time. I think when you're talking about organizing an unprecedented work stoppage, of course you're going to get a wide range of opinions, and it's maybe easy to portray some actors on either end of the range as being more oppositional or more at loggerheads, when really what they might be trying to do is figure it out, an unprecedented action and figuring it out in an unprecedented way.
And this is what I've thought. In any other circumstance, when we're not in this, like I said before, cartoonish environment where I feel like we really are accustomed to getting used to extremes quickly. It goes along with my garbage theory. I feel like any of us are always 3 days away from eating out of a dumpster and being fine with it. It doesn't take that long to get used to it. But if this wasn't right now, the NBA stopping play by the players' choice, How historic would that have been?
I mean, everything since 2017 is unprecedented, but it really is shocking. And it's the sort of thing that if you asked me for 90% of my sports covering life, I would say, well, that's just not where we are. And what we used to do is valorize and romanticize the era of Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali and maybe Lou Alcindor becoming Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And they were active, and we would say, why can't it be like that? But of course, it was only like that for a very short period of time. And so I said, I remember saying, we think that now, the time of Michael Jordan and not being political, as some sort of shameful rejection of what should be. But I think it has mostly been the norm. And circumstances prove me wrong. Circumstance has proved that these players realize that they have a lot of power, and power in ways that even wealthy players of the past didn't have. I mean, I was thinking of this, that in a lot of ways, LeBron James is the most powerful black man who's ever lived in America, because he is the most important player in a sport that is a nexus, if not the nexus, of the experience of Black America. I mean, I would put hip hop as another nexus, but there's not, there are major figures, but not to the extent that LeBron James is. And also, he is something that the white establishment has always feared, which is a black man with so much power and so much agency that he doesn't need the good graces of any white people to have his power, to exercise his power. So it's not like O.J. Simpson, right, who had to have the white people like him. And it's not even like Oprah or black CEOs who, to some extent, exist because they know that the majority of their customers are white, and the majority of their customers need to like them and pretty much like every move on a personal level. I mean, you could argue that Oprah has made moves that I guess the majority of her audience have been uncomfortable with here and there, but not by and large. But LeBron James just needs to be great at basketball, and he has pure agency. He has money, he has power, he has influence, and he's showing his influence in the most important cultural unit of the African American experience, and nothing like that has ever been seen. And I think he's using it well. It's a tough job, but he's doing a good job, I think.
I've thought a lot about how people, there's many ways that they criticize LeBron James, and one way is they'll identify the clutch agenda, in terms of his representation and how they promote his image and his interests, as if that's a bad thing. I've always thought this is the same machine that has been functioning since the beginning of any type of media, any type of power. There's always a machine that accompanies it. And the fact that LeBron James is the man that has the power is something that should be applauded. But I just, as similar to Muhammad Ali and other people, it's going to take time for people to come around to this kind of generic consensus where they're like, oh, he was a great man at a great time. But right now we're in the moment where
yeah. But I also think Elijah Muhammad had a lot of influence on Muhammad Ali. And if you read Ghost of Manila, and if you read a lot of those books, I mean, Muhammad Ali learned that he had a lot of agency, but he was also hemmed in by the government much more than LeBron James or even Colin Kaepernick has ever been. He was he was found essentially guilty of draft dodging. Muhammad Ali, in retrospect, seems all powerful, and he was unbelievably charismatic, but he had nothing like the power. He had nothing like the wealth. He had nothing like the influence. Boxing was a big sport then, but I don't think it was as big a sport to America and to Black America as the NBA is to America. So I think that what LeBron is doing is kind of amazing. And it's a tough job, and now it's become a political job, and he's navigating it pretty well. Not perfectly. You tell me who the perfect, and I don't mean the impossible standards of perfect person. You tell me who the best athlete is at negotiating that position, a position that few other athletes have been in. And I think I can make the case that LeBron James is doing as good a job or better. And by the way, I've only talked about him. Chris Paul has done amazing things in the bubble. Guys like George Hill seems to have been a catalyst for that Milwaukee Bucks protest, work stoppage. And everything that happened since then, even though you hear, well, maybe they weren't going to play, which I thought would have been a big mistake because you give up your megaphone. I mean, the reason we cared about, we all saw what Doc Rivers said, and the reason we cared is because we saw it. And if he wasn't playing an NBA playoff game against the Mavericks and there wasn't a post-game press conference attended by many members of the media, those words wouldn't have hit as deep because they wouldn't have been heard as widely. So it would have been wrong for the NBA to give up its platform and megaphone. We heard that was happening, but it didn't happen. So that's a very good step. You maybe heard that, the league was going to charge Milwaukee with a forfeit, but the Magic wanted no part of that, and it didn't happen. So maybe they got a little lucky, but it seems that every decision, insofar as they were decisions, have been the right ones, and this is a very trying time, but they're navigating it pretty well.
And there's something about LeBron James and the way he communicates his power in this day and age. It is the now. It's very immediate, and he's very aware of that. But it's I mean, we could go down an entire pathway of talking about why it is that in these moments, not only do we look to athletes, but why is it that broader America almost expects athletes to be champions of these particular issues? Like, why is it that we're looking to that? And it's not really the case in white America where they're not looking to athletes. I think that's been something that's almost been a stereotype, but somebody like LeBron James and other people around him are more or less taking advantage of that particular expectation. But there's a lot of weight on his shoulders and an odd amount of weight on the NBA and for what people expected in whatever shutout they would have done. And giving up their platform and just shutting it all down. We saw what that did. We saw when they shut the league down for the virus. We weren't talking about basketball 3 weeks later. We had all moved on until there was some sort of gossip to talk about. And that's that's the other kind of angle, is that the stuff that gets out and it feels like it's almost a just habit. Getting the first thing out that people can report. There was an example when they decided to put Black Lives Matter on the court. There was a half dozen reporters who got that out first. And then when they decided to put up things other than their names on the back of their jersey, people were rushing to say who was putting what on their jerseys. And I feel like it is just absorbing. They're just snatching any sort of actual impact or presence those moments would have had. And they're just draining them and exposing them to all the pre-criticism. And I think it's detrimental. I think it's detrimental. And I don't know if people in the bubble or people covering the bubble need to make a consideration about what they're, not that anybody wants to censor anybody, but do they need to consider what they're putting out and why they're putting it out and not get ahead of the actual statements that people are trying to make?
That's an interesting point, and I hadn't considered it, but I think you're right. And I think that we've been covering it as we would on Christmas, that Nuggets are debuting their new jersey, right? Or Houston's going with a fourth second Sunday home alternative. And you get sneaker marketing, right? But really, it should more be covered like politics, and people in politics know that they have their big speech at the RNC or State of the Union. They want to get a snippet here or a snippet there out, but they know to protect the good stuff because they're practiced in the political art, the art of messaging politically. And when normally the words on the court aren't messaging politically, they're marketing sports-wise. But in this case, they are messaging politically, and they should take a few more lessons from political marketers. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You know, I think having if we hadn't expected Black Lives Matter on the court and then it's there, very impactful. On the other hand, equality and then the Latvian word for equality, it maybe bears some explanation.
I think we missed the last 10 seconds of what you said.
If you have Black Lives Matter, I was talking about the Latvian word for equality, and that does need some explanation. But I also do think if you have Black Lives Matter on the court and you believe it, and they certainly do, you can't not live up to those words. Had those words on the court and in the slogans not been met with the commensurate action of protesting work stoppage, committing a strike on these games, then they would have just been marketing. So if there was any question how they should have been covered, I think by walking the walk, the players showed that this was serious political messaging and not something less than that.
Right. Absolutely. And you almost touched on a question that we had worked out already. And I know the relationship between the government and major U.S. papers or media, they have I'm not sure how many people know, but they have an agreement on some stories when it's national security related or war related, where they can tell the New York Times, hey, or request at least, let's wait 3 days to put that out. We know you have the story, or however it goes, you might be able to explain it better, but they can make an agreement, hey, let's not put this particular thing out. And until a certain point, until we actually get it started or have it completed in order to save lives or whatever their particular stance is that they make up. So in this case, I don't know if it sounds ridiculous, but in these situations with the meeting, completely getting bombarded with the details of, in my opinion, how meetings work, people get mad. Yeah. I mean, I had a meeting once where I was in a heated argument about how to get a cardboard cutout of Tom Hanks for a video. And it was heated, right? Somebody gets a clip of that and I look like a complete jerk, right? And that's the perception. And this is how it happens. Patrick Beverley, and that's the whole point of the first half of this show, is that he is that guy. And he's giving us exactly what Patrick Beverley expect, and it almost set off an automated system of Patrick Beverley does something, let's report, let's do the thing we do when he does something. Yeah. But is that a thing that should be considered in these circumstances where there's an agreement about what gets out?
Well, there's no national security interest, right? So what would happen? The United States government would make the case to a major American newspaper that had the story that'd be willing to listen. Look, you're putting operational lives at stake. Hold off here, hold off there. And the newspaper, and this is what the New York Times did say when they published Gitmo stories and ABC News, when they had pictures, they weighed those considerations, and sometimes they do withhold some things and sometimes they don't. And the Guardian had a same set of considerations to consider with the Snowden revelations. The Guardian, the New York Times, and the Washington Post all made slightly different calls based on that, but it is national security. So on something like this, though, there are so many negotiations that do take place with members of the media. Don't put this out there and we'll give you this in exchange. And members of the media don't necessarily have to be acting unethically by saying yes. On the other hand, I'm a bigger believer in if you got the information, get it out there. And I don't know that, and that doesn't mean that all the information or all the framing is going to be correct. And you're right, Patrick Beverley is always the World Wrestling Federation heel. He plays the heel. There's always the heel turn, and that's going to apply to him on the court or in a meeting room. And it seems like it did. On the other hand, I think in 2 or 3 weeks, or when someone does a really good oral history, I hope they were running tape and taking notes, someone does a really good oral history of this time, I don't think that the players will be diminished by us knowing all of their considerations. And I think if we're charitable and generous in our readings of it in the future, we will allow the people who maybe made what will be considered the wrong call will give some allowances to them. I mean, I hope they will. That's actually not been the trend. We seem to be judging history much harder. And when I was younger and studying history, the ethos was you have to judge a person based on the tenor of the time. That seems to be less true now. We're judging people by the tenor of our times. But when we look at the NBA story, and I think it will be studied, I hope that Beverley doesn't come off as someone other than impassioned for all the right reasons.
I mean, it is reading some of the particular headlines like LeBron James walking out, I believe they said some teams felt blindsided by the Bucks' decision without consulting them. I mean, these are the natural occurrences of coming to an agreement.
Yeah, and blindsided. And does blindsided mean they object? I mean, they were blindsided. So blindsided means a car crashed into you, which you never wanted. All right. I don't know if that's the most apt metaphor. They were shocked. I think the Bucks, an hour before they made their decision, would have been shocked. Okay, I don't know that the Magic objected and felt victimized, right? That seems to be the implication of blindside. I don't.
Yeah, you could be. Could you be blindsided by flowers? You know, blindsided by a hug. You know, a puppy licking your toes. I was blindsided by the puppy. Yeah. But I mean, I think there's so many things at work, and it's not just the 17 or 39 people who are reporting inside the bubble, but and I've still to this day never relinquished my image of an actual bubble floating over that place. But it's the players. They run to their trusted guy to tell about it. But it's like you're saying an extensive oral history of what actually took place inside there in those meetings would be wonderful, but it's that situation of what comes first. And they didn't even get to make their announcement about what they were going to do before the details of how it all went wrong. All went wrong in a meeting that actually was successful. I mean, how can it go? So anyway, I think there's a lot of things to tighten up, but I to some degree, I think over time, I always believe in time, will weigh out the actual important facts. But it's tough to go through the moment when it's messy. I just can't get away from that, the moment.
Right. And so news is supposed to be the first draft of history, but news that characterizes it slightly wrong is like the rough draft of history, and maybe you need a second draft before you put that out there.
But it's published. And
it is. Yeah.
You've given us so much time. I have 3 quick questions.
Okay.
Just because
and
you're
then
here.
I want to ask you a question.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Yeah. This isn't about me. Like, okay, never mind. So, how long have you known that John Stockton did not have a left hand?
Was it a claw, or was it like in Arrested Development and Buster's hand? Did a seal eat it?
It just literally, it fell off one game. Michael Jordan kicked him and it fell off.
Yeah, from what I understand, he ate the last 2 slices of that pizza and his hand paid the price.
Okay, all right, so we'll move on from there. I'll just take it on record that you agree he doesn't have a left hand. What is your take on banners, in NBA banners? I can be more specific, but I just want to get your first draft here. Banners, what's your reaction?
Like hanging banners from the rafters?
Just banners in general.
Banners?
Just NBA banners from the rafters, yes.
Oh.
What's your opinion of them?
It fueled one of the worst sports movies, Celtic Pride, right? That was about stealing a banner, I think. Yeah, I think that I think it's good. Okay, I think they're good because I'm into vexillology, which is the study of flags, and heraldry. And I think sports at their best is a healthy way to act upon the impulses of war, sometimes negative impulses, like tribalism and xenophobia, insider versus outsider. So when sports can be used as a metaphor without actual bloodshed, Patrick Beverley accepted perhaps, then it's good. And all the things that extend to sports as battle, as metaphor and not literal, a thing like a banner or a crest or a farm system, which is to say, a guild system, all to the good.
So I'm so glad you mentioned, I'm sorry, what is it?
Vexillology.
It's that extra L in there, vexillology. Because I personally believe that the Golden State Warriors championship banners are the worst designed championship banners in the history of banners. It is a lack of effort. They tried to go with something historical to match their 1970 whatever banner, and they've completely whiffed on all 3 of them, and they look horrible, and they need to be redesigned. You just need to get the trophy on those things. Put the trophy on them, but they don't.
Do you throw up a shot of them?
Oh, right. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Like, how am I? This is not part of the topic here. So yeah, I'm kind of pulling this. The Warriors, it's just print. It is just flat out print.
What colors? Is there gold and white? Is there gold and white at the same time? Does gold touch white?
Oh.
Because
I'm
I'll
pulling
tell
up
you.
Yeah. Oh,
In
here we go.
vexillology, gold and white and also ermine are not supposed to touch. Gold, white representing silver. And the only flag of the world that I think does this and that's allowed to is the Vatican, the Holy See, because there's an exception. But generally flags would not have those two colors interplaying with each other. So maybe they're violating a vexillological, too many L's there, precept.
Okay. I'm going to share a really messy screen here, but maybe you can see. Can you see the banners? Am I sharing it? These are their banners.
Ooh, just that. Ooh.
Yep.
Just the words.
That's it. Those are championship banners. These are the ones for the best in the world. And they did it multiple times. These almost look like letting you know where you are or what year it is. You know, welcome to the arena.
Yeah.
I even prefer the old ones.
Yeah.
With the little weird side script.
If you gave that to, say, the State Commission for Highway Signs, they would reject it as
this is what I'm saying.
Underbaked.
It's so why can't they just address this? It's one of my it's a hill that I am prepared to perish on. My kids know it. Everybody knows it. I'm trying to get in contact with the guys over at 99% Invisible. I don't know if you know those guys, but anyway, okay. Furthermore, this is okay. I can come back to me now. People have to look at my horrible screen here. Last question on that is, I think because they're trying to make it feel like a home court in some degree. I think the video virtual fans is something it's done. It doesn't matter anymore. I think they should go with pure theater lighting where they black out everything beyond the court, make it feel extremely theatrical, and hang the banners, at least in the finals. Bring the banners into the bubble.
Yeah.
And I found a tweet from Rachel Nichols recently. It was from a long time ago. She said that the teams actually had to send their courts to Orlando with their logos on them.
With the phrase Smoothie King on it, because that's important.
Right, yes, exactly. With
that
the approved.
Oklahoma Medical Center. We need to see that.
They couldn't just print up a decal. So I thought they should have packed up the banners too. And I could go on for a while about, I think, the importance of just that 10% of the top of your view, seeing whether it's, if the Lakers are in the finals or Celtics or whoever, just seeing that in your view from the opposing team. I think it matters and could help. And who doesn't love that shot when they're standing there or kneeling, the upshot during the anthem, and they got the player and the banners. It's classic. I don't know why they didn't do it and they missed it. And I feel like it's personally my responsibility to get a banner in the bubble. That's a different conversation. So, okay, what do you think about that? And then please ask me a question.
I was thinking about the mascots. I was thinking even if 2 or 3 of the mascots didn't want to do it, the gorilla, he's not doing anything after the Suns are eliminated. We don't really know who's in the costume you see. There are probably very good college mascots you could get to play. Bingo the Buck. So I wanted the mascots there, but I think banners are just as important as mascots. Yeah.
All right, I'll take that. That's good. Please. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Well, first I want to ask Trevor there. You didn't feel insulted when he mentioned that it was a violin, not a viola, because viola players have really tough skin, right? Aren't you the most mocked of all the stringed instrument players?
That is very true, actually. There are books written with the jokes of violas and campfires or trash cans and that kind of a thing. Yeah, we have thick skin and a beautiful sound. Those are the 2 things we got going on.
Yes. And my question to you is, don't you think that if Lonzo Ball had shot, 35% in the bubble, it'd be a different conversation? For all his father's hype, he just is. I became a Pelicans fan, and not because of Derek Favors. I just kind of saw my life through Derek Favors' eyes, and this young guy was coming along to take my position. But damn it, Derek Favors, he's a really good and solid center. And there's nothing wrong with Derek Favors, the most ignored Pelican. So I like Derek Favors. I took my girlfriend down to New Orleans. We saw a Pelicans game. She, for some reason, fell in love with J.J. Redick. I'm more a Derek Favors guy. But Lonzo Ball, he got very close to being a very good point guard. But then would just have these 2 for 14 nights. And my question is, does that change the narrative about what we think of Lonzo Ball because of things other than the fact that Lonzo Ball often misses shots?
I've been on the train. I've been waiting at the station to praise Lonzo Ball because I was very pro his dad. Extremely. I feel like as a father, you know, I've got little kids. You wouldn't be able to shut me up, right? And he's been right about a lot of stuff, you know. He was right about a couple things with the Lakers, but I feel like all it would take is just a little bit more, 25%, not shooting from 3, but just a little bit more from Lonzo to really, you know, drive that point home that doubting that family is a bad idea in any capacity. I feel like almost all of the weight is going to be on the younger one's shoulders now to save the reputation. I feel like potential only lasts for 2 or 3 or 4 years potentially. I think there's some players in the league that still live on potential. I think Brandon Ingram, he's got the most potential out of a 12-year vet in the league. But
see, that's why I like Derek Favors. Derek Favors,
yeah.
He's like, oh, he's 30, right?
Can you have potential at 30? Is that possible?
No, he's not. He's realized potential. Yeah.
He needs a better marketing. He needs to join Clutch, something like that. Because honestly, you mentioning Derek Favors is the first time in at least 3.5 months that I've thought of that man. But you have a personal connection. It's like me and Monte Ellis, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. He's good at boxing out.
Yeah, that's important. Anyway,
it's very important.
Yeah. Don't go on J. Redick's show if you have the opportunity. Just don't.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. Gosh, I appreciate you and your time and what you do. And follow this guy. Listen to his show. Thank you very much. I guess this is the end. I don't know. I have one more thing to say on the show, but I think I can, send you off your way. Are you gonna hang around? No.
Sure. I want to hear.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mike Pesca. Here's my final thought. My final thought is that for all Patrick Beverley, you can bring me up full screen in the middle, guys. And Trevor, let's bring back the dramatic music. Let's turn it back. Yeah, that's the wrong guy. There we go. Patrick Beverley deserves credit, I believe. I believe for all of his antics on the court and everything people say about him, whether he's a clown or a fraud or a flopper or doesn't even really know what he's doing on defense. I think the role he plays is almost selfless because every time he approaches another player and gets in their face and challenges them, and he knocks Stephen Curry down, or he runs into Lonzo Ball, or wrestles with LeBron James, or falls all over James Harden, there's one thing that happens every single time. The player gets back at him, and they almost always embarrass him. When Patrick Beverley was mocking Damian Lillard for missing 2 late game free throws, Damian Lillard put 50 on him the next game. In the short term, it looks selfish and it looks self-serving, but you could write it as if he was doing it for them. And that's how I choose to look at it. I choose to look at Patrick Beverley as a selfless person who's motivating people at his own expense. And that's my take, and that's my story. And I am the NBA Storyteller. Thank you very much. Let's spend a few minutes looking at some viewer questions. Thank you guys. I see there's a lot of questions, folks. Man, this has been fun. Let's bring up Trevor again. Let's see. Guys, what what a take. There we go. Somebody says Patrick Beverley is the Loki of the NBA. Interesting take. You know what? I get that. Let's see here. I agree with this take. Somebody says bring back the gargoyles in the rafters. You know what? Any sort of decor up there, anything, it does catch the top of your vision. It does. It matters. It does matter. Let's see here. Random question. Was it ever cool to call San Francisco Frisco? No. No, it wasn't. Let's see. If anybody, let's see, if Ian, if you see anything, go ahead and put it up on the screen for me. I'm just kind of scrolling back. A lot of good comments. Love the conversation. Brought up a lot of things I never even considered. Thanks for the brain candy. How can an MVP lose in the Eastern Conference semi? Well, you know what? It's almost the role of the MVP to lose before the finals. That's more often than not what happens. I don't know why we would be used to league MVPs also winning in the finals. That's why when it happens, it's notable. I may be wrong. Shit, it's like I want to let a guest go, but if Mike's around, I'd love your take on MVPs losing before the finals, and if that actually messes with people's legacies. Does it ruin things for them?
Well, it's only because they choose the MVP before the playoffs.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. Well, they should always do it that way. The drama the drama of handing an award out minutes before a game starts in the playoffs. The amount of pressure, the drama, I loved it, and then they eliminated it. They took some of their key storylines away. Just the feeling of watching a newly crowned MVP wither away was great.
Wouldn't it be great if instead of the trophy, they just slapped a literal target on the guy's back?
That's
everyone is going through.
That's good. Basically, or yeah, I mean, even just like some little emblem that says, I'm the MVP, just something. They'd get some elbows right there.
Right.
That's how it felt to me. Mm-hmm. But do you think it's better that they do it after the season now, or after the championship, or
to have their little awards show? No, I think that the MVP should be decided after the finals, but not right after, because then everyone would have given it to Ray Allen maybe. But I think we know who the MVP of the season is, and it's not the guy who went out in the second round. It just can't be.
Then is there a point to noting who did good in the regular season? I mean, you just want to eliminate that entirely.
But if you do good in the regular season and then you only do fair in the playoffs, you can't be the most valuable player, I think. You won't be remembered as such. I don't know. Let's put it this way. Let's say they gave the Nobel Peace Prize to the guy who did the most before the war. But then during the war, what if this guy went out and was just a killing machine? I mean, I'm saying it would have an effect on those voters in Stockholm.
Right. Right. Well, this is off track, but everybody's okay with killing in war. That's what we allow people to do, apparently. We're just like, hey, Jim's a great guy. Don't talk about that time he blew up a house and family. We don't talk about that.
Right. That wasn't a regular season humanitarian catastrophe. Right.
I'm actually I'm waiting for the internet to cancel, war. Like when they find out what happens, like, man, did you guys know people are like killing people?
War's likes are gonna take a hit.
It's like, honestly, it's like when people find out about other countries and where they are in the progress of their culture and how women are treated and how a lot of marginalized groups are treated. A lot of people in America will just be like, what's going on there? Like, that's wrong. And we'll just impose our morals on that. And to some degree, fine, they need to be exposed to that. But it's like, there's this thing, war is this thing that we just has this haze over it that we still haven't penetrated. where we're just like, have at it, guys.
Yeah. And God willing, the next war will be stopped not by negotiators, but by a ratio.
Thank you. That's good. I'm gonna end it there. Let's end it there. I will address more questions on a post-game recording. I don't know if anybody had a super chat or anything like that. It's thing where people they donate some money to ask a question. It's remarkable. I didn't even know I had access to that. But I'll answer some more questions. Thank you so much, Ian. Please bring Ian on. Ian is the reason that this show exists, and I haven't abandoned the channel entirely. People wonder what a producer does. Other than me sitting here and just saying what I want to say, the producer has done everything else. He's tuned the viola. He shaved Mike Pesca's hair.
That cat. That's Ian's macrame. Cat.
That's true. See, that is true. Yep. Can't deny it.
And Kurt, our technical director, I don't know if he wants any shine here, but thank you so much. He is on it, man. When we were having technical difficulties, he got us through it. God, my good camera. I couldn't even use my good shot. But anyway, that's it, man. I love all you guys. Patrons, I love you guys. Mike, thank you. I love you, Mike. I love you guys. This is all part of a fun little journey for us. Well, let's get a banner in the bubble.
Banner in the bubble. Make sure to like and subscribe, as it says down there. Support the channel. Great.
Let's shut it down.